Go to Senator Cantwell.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thanks for having this important hearing. I so appreciate all my colleagues' viewpoints. I feel like a lot of people put cards on the table this morning as to how we make our way through this process. And I certainly appreciate all the hard work of the chair and the ranking member on trying to figure this out and move forward. You know, I come from a state that can be somewhat empathetic to all of the viewpoints that have been discussed here. I mean, certainly there are counties in Washington state that are 80 or very high percentage of public federal land. And yes, we want PILT money, and we're a state that definitely has a lot of national parks, and we want backlog and maintenance, and certainly believe in LWCF. Oh, I forgot, my colleague from Maine asked for yes, please, go ahead.
One question for the record.
Senator King.
If you all could share your thoughts with us in writing after this hearing, my concern with the use of LWCF for maintenance is a kind of moral hazard problem. That if LWCF becomes the go-to fund for maintenance, nobody will ever have a maintenance budget again. And then what we're really doing is facilitating both Congress and the agencies' avoidance of doing maintenance, deferred maintenance. The word deferred means somebody put it off. And so if you could give us your thoughts, maybe a matching requirement. If LWCF puts up some maintenance money, the agencies have to put up a matching amount. I don't know. I'm looking for guidance here because if we use LWCF, it would take the whole fund for 15 years just to cover deferred maintenance, and I'm worried about the moral hazard. So thank you very much. Thank you, Madam
Thank
Chair.
you. And playing into that, I guess, my point is, I know some people think, I mean, we've definitely used LWCF to help us not increase the backlog in maintenance. I mean, that's what we did at Mount Rainier by fixing the Carbon River because it was flooding out. That's what we've done in expanding land at White Salmon. So the notion that somehow this is, counter is, it's helping us. The question is, if I had my personal viewpoint this morning would be, why have we have this money in the budget for LWCF and then not spent it? Like more than 50% of the money isn't spent. And so when I look at it, I look at this report, Ms. Combs, that the Department of Interior did 2 years ago now that basically said 101.6 million people access recreation, hunting, and fishing in the United States of America, and that should be the premise for increasing more access to public lands. That's a great report. I hope we update it in 2019. So the outdoor economy with over $887 billion of consumer spending and 7.6 million jobs and an opportunity for rural communities just to add a little bit of investment to attract people to come for rural economies is just, so I hope that we will figure this out. And Mr. O'Meara, I wanted to ask you, because one of the reasons why I'm so anxious about figuring this out and getting it right to continue making the investments in LWCF and to take care of the backlog of maintenance is that I feel like climate is impacting our public lands. And if we don't have all the tools to best deal with that, then we're going to be challenged, whether that is at Denali where you might have some erosion or like we had with the Carbon River. Why is this even more urgent now to figure this out and not steal from Peter to pay Paul, but to come up with ways to deal with both of these programs?
Yeah, and I appreciate the question. And look, you're in an unenviable position as a committee because you're basically on the back end of having decades of underinvestment in our public lands. I mean, if these are public lands, and in many ways, these are going to be our salvation and on the climate side between natural carbon sinks as well as trying to have more resilient lands, we haven't treated them that way. We haven't treated them very well. And I think whether it's improved forest management because we are able to acquire individual parcels that allow like landscape scale for fire management, if it's resilience around conservation of wetlands that absorb millions of gallons of water so if communities behind them don't get flooded out, this is going to be one of the most important tools we have to make communities safer and more resilient as we start seeing more impacts. And it's got to be part of the bigger suite. And frankly, we're in the richest country in the world. We have to figure out a way to fund land conservation, habitat restoration, and maintenance at a time when we need all three, given the impacts we're seeing on the landscape.
And to make sure that we're not losing. To me, I would hope that Interior would update that report and then show us what if we took care of backlog and maintenance and made the proper investments in LWCF, what kind of economic return we might get as a nation, because if we're at $887 billion now, and further investment, look, I know there's properties in in the state of Washington that I'd like to see upgraded that I think would attract even more people to come. I'm sure there are in Glacier National Park and other places. So, but we also have to realize if we don't have the proper investment, we might lose some of these access because of the impacts of climate. And I really think we ought to get that number as well so we can see. Can we work with you, Ms. Combs, on that?
Absolutely, Senator. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Madam Chair.